The Batman Arkham series remains one of my all-time favorite gaming franchises, and still today it's widely regarded as one of the best ever. And that's all thanks to the amazing storytelling, awesome and really visceral gameplay, and faithful representation of the Batman universe. Batman is my favorite superhero ever, so just the fact that I lived through the Arkham-Verse at its prime is truly something special. From the amazing Arkham Asylum to Arkham City to Knight to Arkham Origins, yes, Origins is a good game and it better be remastered, to the surprisingly awesome Batman Arkham Shadow, each game in the series set the standard for superhero video games. Like the Arkham games defined and redefined the genre after every new release. Following the disastrous launch that was Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, the Batman Arkham series is set to return with an all-new single-player Batman Arkham game by Rocksteady Games. So today we're going to dive into the Arkham-Verse and discuss the upcoming Batman Arkham game that is currently in development. We have a lot to talk about, so check the video chapters for easy viewing. Also, don't forget to enter the PS5 giveaway. Those details are in the pinned comment, and let's get started. So over the last few months following the release and failure of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, there's been various rumors and reports that Rocksteady Games, the developer for the original Batman Arkham trilogy, will be returning to the Batman world with a new single-player game. So we first heard about a new single-player game from Rocksteady Games about 8 months ago when it was reported by Jason Schreier, where he reported that many of the studio's employees at Rocksteady were helping develop a new director's cut version of Hogwarts Legacy, and during that time studio leaders were looking to pitch a new single-player game which would return Rocksteady to its roots. Twitch and industry analyst TD Cohen said, "I think they'll definitely get another at-bat," which he said that for a reason, at-bat aka Batman, which this brings us to today, the more recent news, which is also reported by Jason Schreier, where we have the current happenings at Rocksteady Studios. Twitch's article went on to say, buoyed by the success of Hogwarts Legacy, Haddad invested heavily in Warner Brothers' next big title, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which had been in development for more than 6 years at Rocksteady Studios. Telling staff that it could also be a billion-dollar game, he and his team greenlit TV commercials. But Rocksteady, the developer of the beloved Batman Arkham trilogy, was admired for its single-player games and had attracted employees who knew how to make such titles. Pivoting to Kill the Justice League, a multiplayer shooter, was an awkward fit that led to attrition and turmoil. Late in production, Rocksteady bosses Jamie Walker and Sefton Hill left to start a new company and recruited former colleagues to join them. Ultimately, fans didn't appetite for another shooter, Jason said, and the game tanked. Rocksteady gave up on its plans for content after the first year, and ending the story with a hasty animation that backtracked on some of the narrative's most controversial aspects, revealing that the Justice League, who we thought were dead, were in fact just clones, except for, Wonder Woman. Jason Schreier then ended off this article by saying, now Rocksteady is looking to return to Batman for a single-player game, but according to people familiar with the timeline, the new project is still years away from landing. So now that we know that we're getting a new Batman Arkham game, the question remains is whether or not this will be a series reboot, or if it will be a continuation of the last game. Or perhaps will it take place in an entirely new universe and be based on the James Gunn DCU. Now that James Gunn is running the show with all things DC, the question really remains on what he plans to do. Now, as much as I would love to see a continuation of the story for the Batman Arkham universe we have so far, I don't think that it really makes the most sense. That's why I think we'll get one of two things. Now, the first one is obviously just a reboot of the franchise, or rather a soft reboot. They keep some of the aspects of the existing Arkham-Verse, but for the most part, it'll feel like a fresh start. I'm sure they'll probably do some callbacks or references to the original trilogy, but with the goal of separating the new trilogy and the old trilogy. Now, narratively, this would be kind of tough because, I don't really want a rehash of what we had with Batman Arkham Asylum, City, Knight, and Origins. I would rather have a new take, a new story with an entirely new direction. I don't mind them rehashing some of the storylines with the Joker or whatever, but I don't want it to be just a retelling of the entire Arkham-Verse. And that same goes with what we had with the Gotham Knights as well. I don't want to have Court of Owls again, which that brings us to the next possibility, and that is a reboot that ties into the greater DCU. Obviously, we know the first Batman project in the DCU will be Brave and the Bold, so that would be a really interesting take. You could have the Arkham-Verse that tells of stories that are in the greater DCU. Some of the stuff that happens in the DCU could have effects on the storytelling of the Arkham-Verse. Now, this would be pretty hard to do narratively because you'd almost have to walk on eggshells to try to not mess up with the canon of the greater DCU. As much as I would love for it to tie in, I just don't think it makes the most sense. However, that's what they plan to do with Hogwarts Legacy 2. Avalanche Software has already confirmed to be making Hogwarts Legacy 2, and according to David Zaslav, the stories will be connected between Hogwarts Legacy and the HBO show. So it might be that they try to do the same thing with the Arkham-Verse. Again, it's hard saying. The Brave and the Bold is so far away anyway that it's impossible to determine what they plan to do, and that same sentiment can be said with the new single-player Batman Arkham game that's in the works. Now, one thing that I do think would be possible and I'd love to see happen is WB Games take the same approach for DC that Insomniac and Sony is doing for those games. For instance, the Spider-Man series, you've got 3 games in that series, Spider-Man 1, Miles Morales, and Spider-Man 2, and there's other Marvel games that are currently in the works. You've got Wolverine, you've got an X-Men game that's in the works. I would love for that same approach to happen for the DC universe as well. You've got Insomniac, who is the core pillar of the Sony Marvel-verse, and Rocksteady could also be that core pillar for the DC universe and have all of the stories interconnected. Like, you already have WB Montreal that we know can make a good game. Like, despite the initial hate that Gotham Knights got, I thought it was a solid game. It was a good Batman story, and WB Montreal, on top of Splash Damage, the developer, did a great job on Batman Arkham Origins, so I know that they can make good games. And on top of that, you had Monolith working on a Wonder Woman game that has since been delayed. It's also been rebooted, I believe. And then it was also just confirmed that there was a Flash game in the works that has since been canceled. But yeah, imagine Rocksteady as the core developer who is working on building a cohesive universe for the DCU in gaming. That would be absolutely wild, but the reality is Rocksteady has a lot of soul searching to do. It's clear that a lot of the key talent left the studio to work at 100 Star, but I do believe Rocksteady has the potential to be a great studio again. They just have to have the time, the money, and WB not meddling in what they're doing. The reality is the expectations that fans will have with a reboot or something new in the Arkham series is going to be very high. I won't lie, I was a bit concerned about Batman Arkham Shadow, but that game turned out to be really solid. It had a really good story. Honestly, if you haven't played it, strongly recommend it. It did the game justice, and that's all I was looking for them to do. Or for the next game, like I said, Rocksteady has some soul searching to do. They got to make sure that whatever they do is on the same level, if not better, than Batman Arkham Knight. And in a way, I hope that Rocksteady Games is the main developer, but they also get help from WB Montreal, because again, as much hate as Gotham Knights got, it was miles, like we're talking leagues better than Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And out of both of those games, I am very shocked to say that Gotham Knights is the better of the two. Like, it's so wild to think about. So yeah, the expectations that fans are going to have are going to be on an entirely new level, especially after the failure of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. It's going to be an uphill battle for them. And that's not even on top of the fact that we have a situation where you have the legendary Kevin Conroy who has passed, and whoever decides to take up the mantle of Batman in the Arkham-Verse will have some gigantic shoes to fill. Now, in my opinion, the first and obvious choice would be Roger Craig Smith, who is the voiceover artist for Batman Arkham Origins, and I believe he did Batman Arkham Shadow. Now, it could be that they decide to go in an entirely new direction. It's hard saying. I would say that Roger Craig Smith would probably be the best person to choose for that. Either way, the biggest hope that I have for the Arkham series reboot, or I guess soft reboot, is just for a good game. Get Rocksteady Studios back to their roots, doing what they know with the Batman Arkham verse, and just say, here's the money, here's the time, make something epic. So with that all being said, the question now remains is, when are we going to get this Batman Arkham series reboot or soft reboot? Like, when are we going to get Batman in our life again? Well, if we take a look at how long it takes for games to develop, I would say the game is probably not going to get out until like 2028 or 2029, maybe 2030. It's hard saying. I would assume that they are currently in the pre-production phase as we speak, and that pre-production phase will likely last a long time, probably upwards of 2 years, with the full development probably going to take 4 to 5 years. If we consider that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League started development in around 2015, maybe 2017, and it first got announced in August of 2020 and it released on February 2nd, 2024, that took the game around 6 to 7 years of total development. Do I think the next Arkham game will take 6 to 7 years? Probably not, but who knows at this point. I would say 4 to 5 years is our best bet, and we won't be playing this next Batman Arkham game until 2029 or 2030. Either way, the fact that we're getting new Batman content in the future is pretty exciting. Let's just hope that it turns out to be everything that we want it to be. But yeah, guys, that's gonna wrap it up with this video. Let me know what your thoughts are on this Batman Arkham series reboot happening. Are you nervous? Are you excited? What was your favorite Batman Arkham game? Don't forget to enter the PS5 giveaway. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel with your notifications turned on if you enjoyed the video. And until next time, this has been Wes, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.